What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content, and a shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Once again, guys, you want to support the channel, right there, hit that QR code and get started. It's super easy. You're picking higher or lower on various stats. There's so many to choose from. I mean, if you're a defensive-minded person, you got that. Offensive, you got that. You can even pick players you don't really particularly like, but you think they're going to do certain things. That's what I've been doing with the Drake May picks. It's very easy to play. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. But again, big shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the video. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Okay, so let's talk about the press conference. This is so stupid. I want to start with, I think, the most quintessential, like, Miami Dolphins thing over the last X, no, let's say 20 years. It's the fact that the microphone for the press conference was malfunctioning. And as somebody who like has a production company and does productions all the time, the idea that at this level, the owner, the new GM, and the coach can't get a good audio setup was, to me, heads should be rolling. That's to me, that's almost a fireable offense. You do sound checks multiple times before you do a presentation, and they're not comedians. Like, they're just standing there. How's the mic not working? It was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, oh boy, that was my first thought before anything happened. Once owner Ross came out and started talking, I was like, is that mic cutting in and out? I was like, oh boy, this is not a good omen. Like, we talked about some people in the press conference that say the wrong thing. You're like, I don't know how I feel about this. But when the mic is not working, you're like, oh boy. But once we got past that and we got into like the crux of the matter, I wasn't particularly interested in what like Stephen Ross was going to say because he's the owner. He's just going to tell you, hey, my commitment to excellence. I care about the team. We're going to get a winner. He's going to say all the right things. Owners all kind of say the same thing, except for Jerry Jones. He's going to say something about money. But when it came to GM Sullivan, or Sully, I guess we're going to call him Sully now, what I saw was somebody who was really passionate and grateful for the position. And I like, in real life, passionate people because passion can be driven. Passionate people commit to what they do. I assume most gyms in the league, if not all, are also passionate about their job. Some might be in such a secure position that maybe they lost the passion along the way, but you can tell for Sully, this is something that he's wanted for a long time. I mean, he's been through multiple rounds of GM interviews over the last few years, and he hasn't gotten them. But he's there. He's everybody's hot candidate. Like, yo, GM Sully up in, or AGM up in Sully, AGM Sully up in Green Bay. There's too many acronyms. He's a good candidate, man. He could be a good GM one day. And then it just kept going to other people. So when you finally get the job that you've been going after, because after GM, I don't, what president of the team, like, I don't know what position you go to after this. He seemed very grateful. I mean, he broke down during a press conference and said, you know, you guys are going to kill me in the media. I'm sure he will be killed in the media, right? I'm not going to kill him, but I'm sure there will be people who will. Like, this guy can't keep it together. That's going to happen. It's also Miami media can be fickle like that, right? Until you prove something, we don't have any equity in you. So no one's like on your side necessarily outside of the fact that we want the team to be good. But I respect what he said and what he did. And he talked about why he hired Coach Halfley and that it wasn't just I worked with this guy before. Because I've alluded to that on this channel where the league is who you know as much as what you know. And he talked about being in the building with him and the kind of man he thought he was and the kind of tenacity and leadership he would bring to the team. And that's what led to it and how thorough the search was. And it wasn't just interviews for sake of interviews. We went through the process and I thought this guy was going to be great and then he ended up being the best person. So that's why he's here. I think that was his way of trying to make people like to diffuse the, oh, that's just your guy. Because if he said, you know, I always knew Jeff was my man, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if I feel that way because then you got to question the judgment a little bit. But once Coach Halfley came up and started talking, what you saw basically was the opposite of Coach McDaniel, right? Coach McDaniel would have things prepared and it would still sound like he was unprepared because his brain is moving so fast, probably. He's like trying to put all the pieces together and he would say something that may be really insightful, but he would say it in a non-insightful way. It would be broken up with a bunch of ums and non sequiturs or whatever. And Coach Halfley said, no notes. It's just me. I'm coming from the hip. I'm coming from the heart. And it was very much a defensive coordinator talking to his team. Hey, we're about grit, accountability, working hard. You know, I used to put lines on the field, pick up equipment. That's what we're doing. It was a defensive coordinator talking to his team. We're about to get to work. If you don't want to work, you're not going to be here. Now, it was a very straightforward situation. I liked how direct it was, right? I talked multiple times about how Coach McDaniel, who I thought was legit a genius and was an amazing play caller and all that stuff, would because he came across so like awkward and all shucksy to the media, it undercut, I think, some of the genius he was doing. Especially if the team wasn't winning, because sometimes the team wasn't winning because of circumstances on the field, meaning guys weren't doing their job. And then when you have him coming up in a post game and he's saying the right things, hey, you gotta look at the film, accountable, whatever, whatever. But he's saying it in a way that doesn't resonate with people, then it's like, well, of course they can't win. Look at this guy. Coach Athlete, you could tell whenever we lose a game, he's gonna come up there and be like, hey, we didn't hit hard enough, we didn't run fast enough, we're getting to work on Monday. You can tell how he's gonna do in those circumstances already. Like he laid out the kind of dude he is, straight shooter dude. Like, I mean, I'm sure he is like an emotional guy, like behind the scenes and stuff, but he seems like he said, I'm not afraid to coach players hard. I want to bring out the best in you, the greatness in you. He feels like an old school coach. And I think that's what we are kind of going back to when we got Parcells kind of thing. Like that's kind of it's like that kind of thing. Like the Parcells, Big Tuna type energy. That's kind of it felt like what we were going back to. Coach McDaniel may have been new age and a little bit more hipster. This is we getting back to the grindstone. We talked about building the team from the trenches on the outside, on the inside out. And I don't think this was a shot at Chris Greer. It could be a shot at some other people. But Sully was like, listen, we've seen people build teams, outside in, and that was probably the wrong way to do it. And I was, yeah, that's you get a team who's not good in all circumstances because you have a team that's built for speed on grass that it rains on sometimes and then it gets cold and they can't do that same thing. They talked about commitment to the trenches. They talked about building and developing through the draft. They talked about being smart with the salary cap. Those are all things that's what we need. It wasn't we're going to be a playoff team next year because that's kind of how you can sell it in a press conference. It was very much we got some work to do. We can't be out here in free agency doing anything if our cap is messed up. Got to get the cap right first. Got to get guys in the draft. And he mentioned, I mean, my cap glasses are across the room, but he mentioned, hey, got to get the cap right, and young players that we're drafting are good for the cap. So we're going to get those guys and develop them because it saves us money. I mean, this seems very obvious, but I think some GMs and coaches want to come in and make a big splash. We're going to go out and get the right guys. And you say all that stuff, but it's like, yeah, but can you do that? Like, do you have an infrastructure to do that properly? And if you don't, then you're just blowing smoke up us, right? It seemed like there was a plan in place. I didn't hear anything about an OC. At the moment, I know they're like, we're still vetting people. And I'm going to talk about OCs later on today. But I think as far as the intro press conference goes, this was as good as they could do. I think if you were a doubter going into it, you probably are less of a doubter now. If you're already a fan, I don't think anything was said that makes you less of a fan now. So I'm here for it. Now, they talked about we're going to keep adding talent to the quarterback room, and we're going to add quarterbacks smartly, which immediately told me that Malik Willis is probably not on the horizon, which is I was a little sad about. Y'all know I'm a Malik Willis fan. I thought he would fit well in Miami, but Malik is for sure going to garner at least 25, if not 30 million a year, and we just don't have the cap for it. Like the Tua situation is just it's just too outsized, and then Tyreek, and then it's just too much money going to people who aren't really going to contribute next year. So that told me Malik's not going to be the guy. It sounded very much like we're going to bring in a veteran, if not a couple of veterans, and maybe another young guy to compete for the job, to fortify the room. If a guy like Kirk Cousins becomes available, that seems like a sensible guy to bring in. Kirk has been, this guy's had the greatest career ever. He gets paid all the money. No, he doesn't win in the playoffs, doesn't win a championship, makes all the money. Kirk's the man. But someone like a Kirk Cousins, like a Davis Mills type person, who's a vet, who can fill in if he needs to, not our future. Like they were very evident that they don't think Quinn is the future. It's like, okay, we said we have to get the quarterback right. It was said a number of times. So they don't believe in Quinn today, which is fine. He hasn't earned the right to be like your franchise. But I expect there to be like the Mariota type guys. I know Derek Carr's out of the league, but someone like that where they're older, not a threat to really be the starter, but we need him in a room. Like even a Fitzmagic, that kind of person. And that sounds like we're for sure going to also draft another quarterback. I don't know where we're going to draft. I already mentioned no to Ty Simpson, but if we're again third round makes the most sense to me. We have 3 picks in the third round already. I assume the first 2 rounds will be for sure trench guys, if not the top secondary person available. And then the third round, we have so many picks in close proximity to each other that it's like if a quarterback we may have had a second round grade on slides down to the third round, then it may be a situation of, hey, we kind of thought that guy could potentially be a starter. We might hit on that. So let's make the move. I mentioned a Trinidad Chambliss kind of player because I think Trinidad is possibly one of those guys. Don't want Carson Beck. We'll talk about that later on. But it was interesting that he said we can't have enough talent in the room because Coach McDaniel said something similar like a month or so ago. He talked about, hey, sometimes you got to just keep taking shots at the quarterback thing. Like, it's really hard to get it right. And he mentions a lot of ways to be a franchise quarterback. And Sully said kind of the same thing. You don't know. Like, they drafted Jordan Love in Green Bay, and he sat for years. They got Malik Willis for a 7th-round pick, I believe, from Tennessee, who thought he was a castaway. That guy can't play. Get him out of here. Go get Cam Ward. And then we saw him play. And it's like, that guy's about to break the bank. Metaphorically, he's not going to get paid crazy money. But he went from this guy cannot play to the most coveted free agent quarterback on the market. And so now they had 2 quarterbacks in Green Bay. Now we can, sign and trade. We can do, it's a bargaining piece. So I think the idea that we need to just fortify the room in general, get it some free agent guys that are good, that are solid, find some guys in the draft that can maybe be something. I like the idea. It didn't say, Quinn is our guy for the future. It didn't say he's not the guy. It said we got to get the guy right, but we need to build the trenches properly so that even when we have the right quarterback, that he has the proper protection. We saw what happened with Joe Burrow for his career. Joe Burrow can do all the things, can make all the throws. He can be the guy. Can he be blocked for? Because I see Joe Burrow get hit a lot. What happened to Justin Herbert this year? He was getting destroyed in the pocket. Now, they normally have a good offensive line, but guys got hurt. And once they got hurt, Justin Herbert became a pedestrian quarterback. Like, it's what happened. C.J. Stroud, they stopped blocking for him, and guys got hurt. C.J. sold. Like, it was, you can have a talented quarterback, but you have to have the lines right. And we've tried, and we haven't done a good job of it. Hopefully, Sully and the boys can make it work because we have not gotten our trenches as good as they should be. So it's hard to know if and when we even have the right quarterback because we haven't done the foundational parts first. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog's the best place to get on all the action. Playing Underdog is really easy. Just pick your favorite player will go higher or lower on various stats, including rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, etc. Get the picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. Now, I gave you guys my picks for the week on yesterday's show. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it. I think I did pretty good, but we'll see on Sunday. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code FOOTBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries once you make your first $5 play. That's promo code FOOTBALLFAN. Underdog. Make picks. Win some money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus Alabama, Nebraska. 19 plus Colorado, some games. 21 plus Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And President State Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets at underdogfantasy.com/playing terms DFS and details. Offer not Alabama, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerns with playing? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 hotline at 1-877-8 or text MI 467-3669.
So we're still trying to figure out the offensive coordinator situation. And this is really as important as the defensive coordinator, which we now know is going to be Coach Hafley, or anything else we do positionally wise, because the offense is a really big part of the team, of course. I wanted to get ahead of the search and let you know a couple of coordinators that I do not want on this team. And some of this is personal. It is what it is. I will say this as an aside. I think there are some coordinators and coaches who have just been put in positions over and over again so people think they're good at their job that I don't think are good at their job. I just don't understand how people keep getting jobs. It's baffling to me where I'm like, hey, they weren't good there. How are they getting a job here as well? It's confusing, and honestly, I'm not going to say Adam Gase is a good example, but I'm going to say it because Adam Gase, to me, is the quintessential example of that dude was never good at his job, parlayed being Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator, where Peyton Manning obviously was doing all the work, to multiple opportunities that people kept saying, well, he got some of that Peyton Manning on him. He's not good. He's not good at his job. So I'm saying that because one of the people I'm seeing that Miami might look after is Matt Nagy, and I don't want any part of Matt Nagy. I don't want him. I don't think he's a good offensive coach. I think he's an Andy Reid disciple who is an Andy Reid. I know people say, well, you remember Trubisky got to the playoffs? Whatever. Not here for it. That was forever ago. Trubisky is a backup quarterback. That team had a lot of talent outside of that. I don't think he's a good offensive mind. The Chiefs' offense has regressed since he's been there to the point that word is they're going to bring in Eric Bieniemy to be the OC again, who they thought, because they thought Matt Nagy was good, which he never was. They thought Matt Nagy was good and said, we're going to get Eric Bieniemy out of here, who we know is a good offensive coordinator. Bring in Matt Nagy because he knows the system. The Chiefs last year had all their receivers past week 6. They had a healthy Mahomes for a stretch. They had every reason to be a good offense, and they just weren't. And people were like, man, what's going on? It's like, yeah, they're not creative. They're just not. They got Hollywood. They got Xavier Worthy. They had Rashee Rice. It just didn't work. And no one understood what was happening. Is Mahomes? People were starting saying, is Mahomes a good player anymore? I'm like, it's not Mahomes. It's him. He's not good at his job. And now people are like, yo, Matt Nagy might be someone's head coach. Head coach? It blows my mind. I don't get it. I know this is a rant. Whatever. I don't even know Matt Nagy. I just don't think he's good at his job. The second one is I don't want Cliff Kingsbury to be offensive coordinator. It's not because I don't think he's good at his job. I think for Cliff Kingsbury to do his job well, he needs everything to be perfect. And he hasn't proven that past like week 10 or 12, he can keep up his level of creativity and genius. I think he got a lot out of Kyler Murray early, but late in the years, those things haven't worked. And I think his lack of commitment to the run game is concerning to me. I think Miami should be a run-first team. I've said that. I said it all in the offseason from last year. Y'all can check the tape. Go back to episodes like 150 and earlier. I said 60-40 run pass. Even before Tyreek got hurt. Even before Tua regressed. I was already saying this because that seems to be a formula to win, right? When I see Cliff Kingsbury, I see maybe some creativity. It's almost a situation where your name is bigger than your game. I think he's good at his job. I'm hearing that he's interviewing with Baltimore now. There's an interesting possibility there because they have so much talent and Lamar, they can figure it out. I don't want him here. Based on what Sully and Coach Hafley are talking about, his offensive philosophy doesn't fit with what they sound like they want. That's why I'm not here for it. It's not a personal thing. I think Cliff has been underrated at certain stints, and I think he's been for sure overrated at certain stints. This year was an absolute disaster for Washington, but it's not on him because they didn't have the quarterback for most of the year. But I know people hear Cliff and it's like, oh, Kingsbury, not here for it. Not on this team, not now. Like maybe he can change his ways or go somewhere else and get some conditioning and do some other stuff. I'm not here for it. Some of these guys keep getting jobs, and I don't quite understand it because when I see Chip Kelly go from Oregon to the pros, 2 years that were good, 1 bad year, then go bouncing around. Like the fact that he was the Raiders offensive coordinator, like based on what? He hasn't been a good coach in over a decade. I don't get it. And it's just that guy was good at some point. If Matt Rule gets a job again soon, which you know is going to happen, it's like, okay, well, when was Carolina's offense good with Matt Rule? Remember when he was a coach? It's just, he was good with Temple in 2015. I'm not doing it with these guys. These retreaded people who have names that people keep giving them jobs for. This is an odd rant to have, but I've seen it many times in the league where I'm like, oh, they're bringing this guy back. I'm like, him again? There's no one coming up that's better than this. This 58-year-old dude that's had 13 jobs. I'm just like, I'm not doing it. Unless you have a proven record of success, like a Jim Harbaugh has been basically good since he coached at San Diego State, right? You take his trajectory. It's like he's been good everywhere. Totally cool with someone like that getting the job because he's shown he'd be good everywhere. But if you were good, like if you're like a Matt Patricia type, like remember when he was a good defensive coordinator in 2012 and people were like, we got to bring in Matt Patricia. Why? When has he been good? It's just a thing. So we're going to go through this process. I know I got a little animated. It's fine. We're going to go through this process and we're going to figure out who our OC is going to be. I hope they fit the synergy and alignment of the team. But those are two for sure. If I hear us interviewing Matt Nagy, I'm coming on and ranting again. I'm telling you, I'm not here for the Matt Nagy talk. I know the name sounds like he's a former coach. Whatever. Get him out of here. Not here for it. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time with Dolphins Daily.